so much gratitude for people who fight for employment rights and who go through that, and for unions. I just don't think most people realise how important unions are for all of us, whether we're members of unions or in industries of unions or not. When we get started, we're sorry. So, yes, Peter, do you want to just check this is this is the challenges of a very small space. Is it going to be okay there?
I think that's okay.
Okay. Right, so once we get started, which we're just about to do, I can easily fill the time that we have, which is, Peter, will you give me a phone, please? Have a timekeeping device, which we're going to have about 25 minutes or so. And what I often find is people get very shy, and I'll say, does anyone have a question? And no one raises their hand, and then suddenly we've got 2 minutes left, and all the hands go up. So it's much more interesting if you ask the questions, and all I ask is that when you do want to ask a question, that you put your hand up and let me call on you first and make sure that everyone's heard what you say. And yes, so to get you used to raising your hands, let me ask some questions. You can all raise your hands accordingly as well. Who is on social media? Anybody on social media? Yay. Okay, for those of you on social media, please can you turn your phones on, but keep them on silent. You're very welcome to take photos, videos, whatever, and share the insights from this discussion with folks. If you are on Twitter, the handle for the show is @EmptyAnAngel, and that's the theatre. So please do use those. My name, as I mentioned, is Terri Paddock, and again, if you're on Twitter, on my account, I've pinned a tweet because a few other folks on the stage are also on Twitter, and their handles are on there, and so you can give them a follow and a shout out. Very good. And do we have any bicycle couriers in the audience tonight? No bicycle couriers? No bicycle couriers. Do we have any union reps in the audience tonight? Any employment lawyers? A couple employment lawyers? Okay, does anybody already know they've got a question they want to ask? That's okay. I'm going to warm you up. Wait.
I have less one.
You got one. Give me a little bit of a chance. Okay, so when we get started, I'll come to you and then you, but hold on a second. Now, let me introduce you to the folks on stage with me. You will obviously recognise Darcy Willison, who performed so brilliantly tonight. Thank you very much. Next to her is James Woolf, who is the writer of Empty an Angel. Next to me is Katherine Reilly, who directed the production. And at the end we have Max Dewhurst, who is from the Independent Workers of Great Britain Union. And, is it okay if I say? And Max brought the case on which the play is based. Is that right? Yes. Okay. So, very good. So I think you'll agree we've got some pretty cool people to talk to tonight. Yay. So actually, Max, I'm not going to dive straight in with a, tell us all about the case and how it changed your life kind of question, because that's a big one. But let me ask you first, had you seen the production before tonight?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
You said, how many times have you seen it?
I've seen it twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
And how does it feel to watch somebody portraying your life on stage?
Super cringe. Like really hard to not feel terrible. But today was like pretty easy. And I think Darcy does an amazing job, so it's actually like getting to a point where I'm like kind of I'm like a bit touched actually now that James has gone to all this effort and everyone's like made all this effort to make a play. I mean, it's nuts, isn't it? I didn't think it was that interesting. The original story, but you seem to turn it into something.
I did keep sneaking a little peek at you this evening and watching and I could see you smiling at certain lines in particular, and that gave me joy. But Darcy, how does it feel for you then, knowing that Max is in the audience?
So I think the first time you saw it when we first did the run, they didn't tell me until afterwards, and they do this with several people that are mentioned in the play. But they don't tell me until after they've been, which I'm kind of glad, because otherwise I'd be like, oh my god, they're right there. originally so much pressure, so much pressure to tell a story that involves real people and real things that have happened. But Max and everyone else has always been so generous with and kind in regards to it, so it's made it a lot easier on me. But I think I've always tried to come at it of, I can only do what I take from, I'm going to put the pressure on James, I can only do what James writes, right? And what I'm directed to do. I'm a pawn in all of this. Yeah. I'm just told where to go and what to say and how to do it. So really, it's on them. So yeah, but it's super, I feel like it's such a privilege to get to do that. Yeah. And I thank all of these people for trusting me with it. But yeah, when you know that they're in the audience, the pressure, woo! I play it really cool, but it's not how I feel inside.
Well, you handle it well. I'm really feeling self-conscious now because I do stare over my glasses a lot, and I'm feeling like I can't see anything on the page without them. And I can't see anything. Anyway, but now let me go to you, James. So I'm going to hazard a guess, James, and say that you probably aren't a bicycle courier, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So what was it about this, according to Max, not very interesting story about a bicycle courier that piqued your interest? How did you come to write this play?
So I worked for the Law Society, and there was a lunchtime presentation which my colleague Nick Dennis organised, who's unfortunately not here tonight, who was going to come. But, and Max came with Jason, I think, and
Jason is?
Jason Moyer-Lee was the trade union guy, sat pretty much where you're sitting on the stage, and suggested the Employment Tribunal. And I just thought it was an inspiring story of a normal person achieving great things by people collaborating, and it's just one of those fantastic stories you hear from time to time. And I said to Nick, look, I'd really like to write a play about this, and he said he'd produce it, which he did. And I asked Max to send me just a tape of the story, just in her own words. And when I heard the tape, Max had basically recorded it whilst going around doing jobs as a cycle courier. So at first I found this really annoying because there's wind noises, car noises, and I said, why did Max choose to do it like that? And then Max starts talking with receptionists, and I'm suddenly getting a really good feel for the day-to-day life of a cycle courier, and starting to write down specific phrases, and the whole conversations now have been lifted from that tape to the play. So just thank you, Max, for that tape.
You wrote it, is what you said.
Yeah, I think a joint credit is in order at this point. But yes, that's how I came.
That's amazing. And are you still a cycle courier?
Yeah.
Incredible. And so you provided that, Max. Then did you continue to be involved in the development of the piece after that?
A little bit, and try to get other people involved as well. From my perspective, I can see all the different bits of the play, like what content came from which person. So yeah, it wasn't all me, obviously. Just try to help out a bit. I felt a bit like, to begin with, James was quite into the idea of the tribunal and how it was. I kind of think only legal people are that interested in tribunals, no offense. My attitude was James, please write about the big picture. It's not all about a single legal case. There's a whole other, the story of the union for me, and unionising a group of people that were previously unorganised and unorganisable is sort of more important for me as something that is socially useful for this sort of setting.
And I was reading up about the union. It's fascinating because it's not even 10 years old, is it?
Yeah, it's 10 years old next year.
Next year. Yeah. So to achieve so much good for so many people in such a short amount of time is pretty phenomenal, isn't it? So then you wrote the play. This is not the first time it's been done. You did it in 2019 at the White Bear, also with Darcy. Mm-hmm. And what did you guys learn from that experience?
I learnt from my first producer how not to approach getting a play on. Because I gave him the script and he said, I'll produce this for you, James. And then he, I'm sorry he's not here to have this. he said, I'll produce it for you. I gave him the script and he did nothing for a year. And then he went to the White Bear with another playwright to talk about the other playwright's work. And the Michael, who runs the White Bear, said to Nick, do you have any connection with theatre? And Nick suddenly remembered this script he'd done nothing about and said, yes, there is a play I want to produce. And that's how we got it on there. But sorry, that was a bit tangential. But
that's okay. So what did you learn, Darcy, from that experience?
I think the thing that I really learned is how, for it to be really boring from a complete acts perspective anyway, a show like this is so dependent on the audience you have each night. And I'd never done a show without an ensemble. I mean, as you know, a lot of the shows I did in the past year was like groups of 10, 12 actors. And like, I rely on that. Like, that is my safety blanket. Like, if I drop a line, they pick it up. And vice versa. And so, to get on a stage, and I didn't realise, I've never been... Am I allowed to swear?
I think you already have.
I was not shitting it so much as I had done that night. I swear to God, because I'm used to warming up with a cohort of people who get it, and I'm nervous too.
Yeah.
It's just me on my own in this tiny dressing room in the White Bear. Like, if I fuck up, no one knows, but no one's there to help. And so I guess I really learned, I learned that it was the first time I learned the play was actually funny, because I'd been doing it, God love her, to Ursula and to Zara, and they found certain bits funny, but you know, after 7 times you've heard it, it's not that the joke's not that good anymore. Yeah. And then I get in there, and people are laughing. I'm thinking, oh, it's funny. Yeah. Oh, I wasn't expecting this. So yeah, just to be ready for whatever comes in. First night at the White Bear, somebody sat on one of the seats on stage. So that also taught me about how to react in the moment in Fringe theatre. And yeah, telling someone to get off stage a character was quite joyous, but to be ready for anything, I guess, is what I learned. Very much.
So 2019, we're now 2021. Katherine, you came on board to do this run of the show, which has had a tour at a few different theatres before coming home. I think this must be the spiritual home for a play called Empty and Angel, mustn't it? Right? So Katherine, what attracted you about the project, and how did you approach it to kind of give it a fresh new light?
I'd seen it at the White Bear.
Okay.
A friend of mine directed it, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a fascinating piece. And when I was approached then, I had a chat with James earlier this year. I thought, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. I'm fascinated by the just the storytelling, all the different elements, the bit of verse. You know, I'd never directed a one-person show before. I loved the fact that it was political without being hit you over the head heavy-handed, but engaging and dynamic.
Very good. We're all looking at the puppies.
I'm really
No,
this is like the best he can behave in a...
You never have to apologise to me about a dog.
He calls focus.
No. But I am going to pull Max back towards me. So Max, that was 2019. We're now 2 years on. Something happened in the middle, I think we all know about. But what, meanwhile, has happened with employment rights and independent workers' rights since 2019? We have a bit of a reference in the epilogue to the play, but could you summarise for us?
I wish I prepared.
Well, maybe an easier question is, what is the union focusing on now?
So, what are we focusing on? Oh God, I'm so sorry. What are we doing? Just keeping doing what we're doing. I guess it's still, I mean, nothing really much has changed in terms of like legislation or case law. All the case law, well, we've had Uber at the Supreme Court, which is a great thing, which means the company has somewhat implemented the rights that the drivers are entitled to for some of the time that they're working. So basically the fight continues to try and define how many legal people do we have, or in-house, any in-house lawyers?
It's going to take a very long time.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, we have to define working time. Basically, that's the big thing, because you have to. It all boils down to what is working time. if you can define working time, then you should have rights to that time. So if your time is just for doing a delivery, it's just for doing a delivery. If it's for the whole day, it's for the whole day. Good luck, future generations.
Yeah. And I guess also, all of us now can appreciate even more the precariousness of work, what we've been through the past years. Okay, I am going to come to you, but there was a hand in the back, I think, that went up first.
It was me, yes. I was going to ask a very similar question to the one we just asked, so I'll ask another one, which is probably more towards the director then, in terms of kind of how you feel you've moved it on from the original performance. What were you looking to change or do differently from the White Bear performance?
Yes. And I bet you also had to do something that would be adaptable for various venues, didn't you?
Yeah. So my memories of the original production were a bit hazy by that point. I just remember really enjoying it and finding it incredibly engaging. I was very grateful to James for being open to me having creative license to start over without throwing anything out, and also to Darcy for being so open to me working differently and me approaching it differently. I started with the text and the language and the clarity of the storytelling, because there's so many different characters and there's different stylistic devices. There's so much going on that it just felt incredibly chaotic. So to just have the story be clear was my first priority.
James, why did you choose to kind of insert rap and rhyme into this piece? What was the inspiration for that?
I mean, partly having watched one-person shows, I know that you kind of need to keep surprising the audience a little bit, because otherwise they can go into a deadly rhythm, I think. And so I wanted to have a few surprises that I could produce as the play went on, and I actually wrote the rap before I heard about Hamilton, and then I heard about it. I was really pissed off.
You hadn't heard of Hamilton, that just
No, but it was around the time it was coming out. So this was like back in 2018.
Okay.
So, but the rap did felt kind of right somehow. That not that. Obviously, Max didn't go into rap once he was meeting the trade union for the first time, but it felt like the right energy at that point, and Max had a lot of information that needed to be said, and the rap was quite a good way of getting a lot of information together.
And I wonder, the director and performer, how do you respond to that? Is that...
Originally I was like, are you joking? Originally I was like, it's going to be spoken word. And Jay's like, it's a rap. And I was like, is it though? And then I think when the rewrite came back for this run of it, and the end rap it's pretty much doubled. And I was like, are you trying to kill me? Are you trying to kill me? But I love it. I think it's the best surprise. For some people it's awkward and cringy, and I know that, and for some people it's the funniest thing ever, and some people are like, you could rap, and I'm like, let's be very clear on, let's not, big me up too much, but I think they're great. I think you're right, the element of surprise, I think it really showcases this personality we've created in this character, Watford, that kind of wanting to do the next best, biggest thing, and keep surprising people, and keep entertaining people, and I just think they share a message that in the moment it's really fun and joyful, but afterwards you reflect on.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really special thing, to deliver information that's really, can be quite heavy, but then it actually, in the moment, you're laughing with it and joyous with it, and not until afterwards do you go, wow, that meant something. So I think that allows, that's what the raps allow you to do.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's the playfulness with that resonance that you're, all those lines are actually incredibly heavy and hard to read.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of bouncing along, and gives a lot of information too quickly.
Yeah.
And just checking, Max, do you like rap?
Do I like rap as a genre?
Yeah.
I think it's...
You do now?
Yeah. Look, I'm just... James has creative license. As a thing. It's not really Yeah, it's nothing to do with me.
I'm imagining that, like, in your earbuds when, you know, you've got a route down a trafficless road, you're listening to My Fair Lady or something like that. I'm thinking show tunes. That's what I'm thinking. But yes, here, what's the question with the puppy?
Oh my gosh.
Did you forget it?
No, I just have so many. So I'm
Okay.
going to try and like distill it. I don't know, now I'm speaking directly to Darcy. So we worked together on Macbeth, so I know you and I know Darcy,
yeah.
so that speeds that bit up. And my question, I guess, for Max, because I write and I've experienced something very similar to this, but to do with my family in court. I will now cry, so let's park that. What made you not get up on stage yourself? And that's not a challenge, but like, was there ever a possibility for Darcy to work with Max? Or was it always a one woman? So I suppose that's a question for Max and a question for the writer.
So, Max, would you ever be tempted to perform?
Oh God, no.
No? Because I like was watching your reactions, and like you said, you know, they found, I don't know pronouns, excuse me, bits funny. But I also saw the bits you did not find funny, because I think we were crying at each other from across the room. So that's like maybe a different interpretation of what. But then Darcy,
Yeah.
have you ever had a similar experience, and would you now put on your own one-woman show? Because I want to hire you for mine.
Oh,
Wow, everything's happening here.
That's why I said I have too many questions, so I'll just distill it.
I haven't ever, you know, faced any legal battle in any way, shape,
Because
or
I
similar.
thought you rode. Did you ride?
No.
So I thought you did because of this.
Yeah, no,
I thought this was her show.
no.
Have you got a lot fitter riding the bike on stage?
I mean, I push myself at the beginning every night, and every night I regret it instantly when I get off the bike and start. I'm like, can't breathe. It definitely has made me fitter. In regards to, I'm not a writer. I've tried to write. I'm not a writer. I don't know how you
My
do it.
counter question then is, you're a musician. Now this is like a hot seat, but why the aversion to rap? Because you usually sing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the aversion to the rap was originally to do with.
How good Hamilton was.
Yeah, well, I think rap. This is gonna sound awful. Rappers usually are really cool and like this kind of effortless cool thing, and I just didn't know if I could bring. I was like, I'm gonna seem so awkward, but
Pretty cool.
May I interject on that, which was
Yeah.
this was never meant to be a rap performance.
Yeah.
The idea is this character loves storytelling,
Yeah.
and she sees humour in all these situations, and she comes up with her Shakespeare, and she comes up with this
That comes
way of
through.
explaining
That definitely
things.
comes through.
And you could just see her in a room going, that's what I want to tell them.
Yeah.
So that's what I told them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's not meant to be,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not trying to make you an
No, no,
amazing
no.
rap artist.
So my
even
last
if she's great.
musical, given she sings.
Musical.
Maybe a musical.
A musical version of
Don't
everything.
applying
That's
ideas
what I
in his head. Applying ideas in his head. He's gonna have him here with a drum kit.
Thank you, though. Thank you so much.
But
for being
a follow on from that, now that you have conquered your fear of solo shows, would you do another?
Oh god, yeah. In a heartbeat. I'm
Yeah.
actually, not that it's like a publicity thing, but like we're doing a rehearsal reading of James's new play,
Yes, I have
Next
that on my
week.
list.
and at first I was a bit like, you're now making me share a stage with somebody. No, I'm totally kidding. But I would, of course, I'd do a one-woman show again, because that original fear was horrendous of like being on my own, and I think it is very different to having your ensemble. I was trained, you know, my drama school, we were trained in the ensemble way. That is my total power, I think, is sharing in an ensemble unity. But then my ensemble instead are these guys.
Yeah.
And so although they're not backstage with me or on stage with me, you have that sense of ensemble from Beth to Kat to James.
Do you have a preference? And can you ever
Hey,
go back?
hey. Enough. Sorry. Great. Thank you for your enthusiasm.
Could I interject
Yes,
one
James.
bit? I mean, we were talking earlier about what Kat had brought to this, and for me, the most amazing thing is the clarity of these scenes where there are so many people in a room at once, and it feels like there are loads of people in a room, but you know who everyone is, and I think that clarity that you brought is amazing, actually. So, I mean, it was always a great show with Darcy, but I think it's like super great now that we've built on what we have.
Yes, very nice. Okay, other hands. I'm looking for hands. Hands. Yes, here.
Spectacular. Really enjoyed
Oh.
it. I've got a question for Darcy.
Yeah.
In this performance, are you self-employed, a worker, or unemployed?
I am, for this particular show, well, I'm self-employed. I'm always self-employed. I
And would you
think-
like to elaborate a little bit more about the acting industry in that
Well,
art.
that's so good because
Yeah.
I actually had that as a question too. You must feel a lot of sympathy with couriers, a lot in common as an actor.
I mean, obviously the major difference is like, I mean, you watch the opening of that. I cannot relate to the danger of the cycle courier industry and the absolute. I don't know how you guys do it. But yeah, I mean, I guess if anything, not to make it like a COVID pandemic thing or whatever. But as an actor, you're pretty much always, unless you're on a long contract, you're a freelancer. You're self-employed, and so you know, we have a union, we have equity that protect us for certain things. But when I'm on stage, based on my contracts per job, I'm paid for the time that I perform. And currently in this industry, you know, anything that I've worked on, you don't get sick days, you don't get holiday days, you don't get any kinds of things. But that's always kind of been what is expected and understood in the acting industry. You are like, okay, I'm going to be an actor, you're going to earn no money, and you're never going to have a life, and you're going to, you know, die for your sins and that kind of thing. But would I choose a different industry because of it? No, like not in a heartbeat. But it did make it tough the past two years, for sure.
And equity is quite a good union.
Equities. I mean, I've never
and
had
very
to,
high union membership amongst actors.
I've never had to rely on them. They have some great things in place. I don't know enough about them to talk about them, you know, for you. But I've never had to rely on, you know, the big buyouts because I dropped a prop on someone's head or something. Which is sort of the only thing I think of, you know, equity for. What do I do in a stage combat thing? I actually stab someone. It wouldn't happen, by the way. I've never had to use them, so yeah, I don't know. I definitely see the parallels, and that helps with the empathy of like the workers' rights. But I find that hard to balance because I also just feel incredibly grateful whenever I'm working.
Yeah.
So in those moments, I'm like, I'm just so happy to be here. So I'm not really thinking about anything else. I don't know if that answers the question, but thank you.
Max, have you ever been injured?
Yeah, I have very unglamorous and slow-moving crashes. It's nothing like fast-paced and like, you know, crack my head open. It's like trying to hop on a curb and like slip, you know, fall down. Yeah, it's just really.
But that really struck me when it was mentioned in the play. Like, you know, what happens when the couriers get injured? And
yeah, you work through it.
Yeah,
really.
Mostly. Well, no, you can take. I mean, there's some things you have to take time off for, isn't it? But lots of people come back quicker than they should, you know.
Yeah. One of the things, I mean, James, this piece overall, you know, you say very much it's about, let's tell the truth about what the gig economy really is, and increasingly we're all kind of members of the gig economy. Something that strikes me when I think about it, and I thought the bit in the play when you're talking about it on the bike and you're kind of saying, one of you is going to remember the lines better than I am, but you're talking...
Rewind 200 years.
Basically, the gig economy is just removing our employment rights that we've fought and developed over 200 years. But one of the things that strikes me is, at least couriers have now got organised, actors have a union. I think so many gig economy workers, how do we even categorize ourselves? You know, like, what union am I meant to be if I do a little bit of social media and I do a little bit of this and a little bit of that? You know, what is the union for me? Am I missing something? Or is that, again, one of the ways that workers are denied rights because they don't even know who to unite with?
Yeah.
I think that's a part of the stripping back is that, oh, I need a bit of work, I'll do a bit of freelance here and a bit there and a pub job there, and not realising where you should even go to fight for rights.
Yeah. And what would your advice be? Anyone on the stage?
Join the IWGB.
So that's
Go
true.
to www.iwgb.org.uk/join. Get out your phones now.
I was hoping you would say, but is that the case? Even if we don't know how we fit into it.
Yeah, let's deal with your employment status after you've joined.
You can categorize us for us. Okay, any other hands? Hands. Oh yes, now here we go. Yes, here.
No, I'm just intrigued to know actually how much you get paid. Do you get paid by the hour, or do you get paid by how many jobs you can squeeze into a day?
It's incredibly complicated. I can show you my invoices later, but I mean, at the moment I get paid £3.50 per job, which is the 2016 rate that we negotiated with the company. Obviously, now it's 2021, so we need another pay rise. Sometimes I might get a 20% attendance bonus, or like some sort of bonus thing at the end of the week. It's like varies. Sometimes I get paid per hour, which is £11 an hour, plus extras, which is like £3.50 per extra, so it depends how many extras you can do.
So you get incentives?
We do get incentives, yeah. The whole thing is incentive driven.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah. The whole industry though, right? It's not just like one company. The whole industry is built on every person in all the companies working on a rate that will incentivize them to work quickly.
Yeah.
Because every client wants their parcel delivered half an hour ago. So, you know, it's not like you know, take your time with the deliveries, you know, like as and when. If you do that, you are going to make no money, so you will find another job if you're working like that, or you will learn to pick up the pace.
And what is the average career span for a courier? I mean, because a lot of the people there, and the play, the reference was that some of them have been doing it for decades.
Yeah, this is my 10th year, actually.
Wow.
So it's a lot of £3.50, isn't it? It varies so much. But like the bigger companies now, you will find, well, I don't know if their model is that people won't last more than 6 months.
Because it's that hard?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and well, it's hard, but it's also expensive to do the job, right? Like if you have to fork out for your vehicle equipment and maintenance and stuff, you know, very quickly you will realise that you're losing money doing the job. So. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Wait. Oh, just 1 second. I think there was a hand behind you already.
Oh, yeah, I was just about to ask. Do you ever get used to having a description on character in a matter of seconds?
Oh, do I ever get used to it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Originally, when we started rehearsing the play, that process took a really long time.
You have
So-
to come.
No.
Sorry, you have to come out this way.
That process took a really long time to get really clear on how they sounded and how they were physically, and I always had to cheat a few characters because I couldn't get their accent quite right, so me and James had a little discussion around that. So that originally took a really long time for me to bounce from character to character, and then it kind of becomes muscle memory. So I guess I'd say yeah, I get used to it, and like with the work that I did with Kat, we'd clear up some of those. But yeah, originally it was such a, you know, for lack of a better word, a mindfuck, because it was like, how do I embody all these characters? But you kind of learn to trust that your body will do it for you a little bit, and you have to let go and be like, well, someone's turning up, and whoever it is, they're going to say the line, so let's hope something comes out. So yeah, I guess in that way, if that answers your question.
So will that help with like future shows that you'll like?
Oh my god, for sure. Firstly, I think I don't think I can ever be scared of an audience ever again. Have to be on stage on your own, and I actually think smaller venues are way more intimidating. But also, yeah, the ability to be super clear with characters is a total gift in what I've learned with this show. Yeah, I'll take it with me forever for sure.
Thank you. And here.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, one of the things the script said was this is just an achievement for me, and obviously that's an achievement that goes further, but and also the fact of just having a single person and the type of work, it seems you're quite isolated within your work, but there was also a collective feeling. For example, when you did the demonstration, have you been able to keep that sort of group thing going, particularly with the pandemic and so forth, and how do you keep that collective feeling as well as just the kind of individual, because it seems you're quite isolated within the work because of the nature of the work. Is that right?
Yeah, it is very isolating.
Yeah.
Some days you won't see anyone that you're like friends with. Some days you'll see loads of people, or some days you'll see someone 3 times a day and you'll be like, oh my god, it's me 3 times today.
Within the union, have you been able to keep that sort of spirit of a collective thing?
Yeah, I think it's like what's nice is that it's evolved. Yeah, it's like our branch of the union has about 5 years old now, 6 years old, and it's that spirit is just like being transferred between different groups of workers. So at the moment there's a big boycott of McDonald's in Dalston, which is nearby, which is all like food delivery app drivers, so Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Just Eat, them lot. And you know, they have a similar, they're predominantly Brazilian and other nationality couriers, probably mostly motorbikes as well, but like there's a camaraderie that you get in any group. Yeah, it could be them in Dalston, it could be drivers in Sheffield. You just have to sort of like bring people together, and it just starts happening, because I think it's inevitable if you isolate people so much that when they come together they communise pretty quickly, and like it's what's quite nice about the whole thing as well is that it's very international now. There have been couriers unions springing up all over the world.
Have the couriers seen the play, and could the play itself help in terms of consciousness raising?
Yes, so that's great. I was going to ask, what are reactions from couriers who've seen it, from lawyers who've seen it?
I don't actually know what the reaction is from couriers, because I've been so embarrassed.
James, do you know?
To be honest, we've not seen so many, or very, very few, I think, in this round of performances. 2019 we did have a few more coming, and they liked it. I mean, there was one guy who did a little film just saying thank you so much for representing our industry, which was lovely.
And what about lawyers? Have you invited any of the companies?
Lawyers are...
City Sprint, have they been to see it?
Lawyers are definitely turning up more, particularly this set of performances. It took a little bit of time to sort of infiltrate. I mean, I work in the legal setting, and it took a bloody long time before the Law Society actually tweeted about the show. I mean, that was a massive effort just to get them to do it. So, but I think we've got some really good contacts now in employment fields, and people love the show. I mean, one or two kind of small mistakes have been pointed out, which I will correct. But no, the lawyers have been great.
Yeah. Okay, last question. I think we've got time for one more. If anybody's got one more question.
I can finish.
Sorry.
What was your reaction to being contacted about having a play about you? How did you feel?
Maybe you should ask James. I feel terrible because I think I was actually honestly really quite hostile.
Really?
And I really apologise for that. I was trying to be polite, but
Skeptical.
it's I was a bit like, why some bloke wants to write a play. I was a bit like, oh god. But on the flip side, if someone's going to write about your community's history, you kind of want to, someone who isn't going to stop, right? So if he's not going to stop, you need to somehow influence it. So it's manageable at the end.
Max, how long was the hearing? How long was your hearing?
God, I don't know, 3 days.
2 or 4 days, wasn't it? You sent me some
4 days,
some notes
maybe,
of each.
And how quickly before they delivered the judgment?
About 8 weeks or something.
Oh my God. So I mentioned I was a claimant in an employment tribunal, and it was 6 days and took basically 2 years from start to finish. When I saw this, the thing that I kept thinking for you watching it is, I actually was so traumatized by the experience and by seeing other claimants in the claimants' waiting room, the claimants' waiting room, the lawyers in the audience will know, in an employment tribunal, that all of the cases, they have the breaks at the same time, and so the claimants go into one waiting room and the respondents go into another waiting room. And my partner is going to start crying over it because it was very, very emotional, not just for what I was going through in my case, but to see the other claimants, so many people trying to represent themselves, or up against huge corporations, and that we're just being broken, and also knowing that even if they made it that far, we were the few. Most people who file employment tribunal claims never make it to a hearing because they get outspent or demoralized or whatever.
Yeah.
So afterwards, I thought, and at that point, they were also charging for the employment tribunal claims and all sorts of other things. So I thought, this needs to be exposed, what's happening with employment tribunals. And so I got somebody to start writing a play based on not just my case, but cases in general. And I had to abandon it, actually, because I found it so difficult rereading and reliving it. So I wonder if maybe, did you experience some of that? Was it?
It wasn't my
traumatizing
choice. James to write
But did you find it traumatic going through it, and is reliving it difficult for you? I guess as a test case, it's somewhat different.
This is like a comedy version of it, isn't it? It's nothing like the real thing. So it's a nicer version to watch and relive, actually.
Well, I'm very happy to hear
Yeah.
that. I'm really delighted that it is causing so much, so many good outcomes.
I feel very honoured. Yeah, very honoured that James has done this. It's very touching and kind, and I hope it will plant seeds in people's minds, and realise that there are ways of changing things, even if it's a bit of a crappy situation that you find yourself in. And hopefully that will bring about further change at some point.
Amazing. And so, last word then to the playwright. Do you want to summarise? What is the message? What do you want people to take away from this? This is the last night. So, are you planning to do more with this production? And what will the legacy of Empty
The
an Angel
message,
be?
as usual, Max has said it much better than I can. So that was the message. We are quite keen to sort of do it again next year. We're going to talk about where and how and stuff. We've had fantastic audience reactions and people have loved it. So we feel like it's got more performances that can be done, and it's still relevant, really.
And meanwhile, you and Darcy and Katherine are going to work together again. You referenced it, but tell us a little bit more about it, Katherine. What's the next project?
It's Joe and Sam find themselves in Woking, and it's a play in rhymed couplets. A couple of millennials trying to navigate a relationship whilst facing the fears of the world we're living in now.
Yeah, so very topical again, and more rhyming.
Yeah, can't escape it now.
Very good. So audience, thank you. You guys have been wonderful. I would very much recommend that you follow Empty an Angel for further information, for updates about what's happening with the production.
Sure.
Is that the best thing to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Very good. And please join me. Oh, I should say also, for all of you on social media, even though it is the last performance, let's memorialise it. After we give them all a big clap when I say, not before, please get your phones out and everybody take a photo. We'll do a group shot. Will that be okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Darcy. You know the drill. And please join me in thanking Max and James and Darcy and Katherine.